So probably people have been following you know me that well. I've been in the, I'm only in one industry, knowledge-based business.
Okay.
And all along, in Ghana, almost all my friends, they're either in politics or religion or whatever. So I chose to be powering, the ground, the youth and knowledge. So that's what I've been. And then you can brand it IT or ICT or whatever you call it. But my goal has always been, how do you empower, the Ghana, the current and the next generation, to be successful, to be knowledgeable, in what happens in other places. So yes, I've been in IT. I've been there, brought a lot of changes to Ghana. I established, through my work, NCA was established. The Telecom policies were formed.
Okay.
Stock exchange was established. Many things that are happening, even the media community where you are, also because of our efforts those days. That's how it evolved into policies.
Okay.
And then many people are benefiting today.
So at the time, what did you see that encouraged you to bring all these things to bear? Did you see that it will come at a point in time in the world that the whole world will be a global village and we need certain things through technology so that we can also be part of what is going to happen in the world?
What I saw before is what I'm seeing today.
Okay.
And it's even better today, or worse today, to continue to transform again. My background has been, I'm an orphan, my parents died when I was 11 years old.
Yeah, I read that.
And of course, like mother, single mother, until she also passed. So I went to America when I was very young. But some were supporting me. My story is very different. I couldn't even go to secondary school myself because, so, but I was supported by somebody and I went to America. And because I didn't have a GC on all those levels, I had to do computer science. And that is what I really that I was blessed with.
Okay.
By the grace of God, and I developed it. So when I decided to come back home, I brought that knowledge, that idea. It was difficult at that time, to understand, computer science and all those things. But we prevailed, and moved on. And as a result of that, we managed to, have major companies who were interested in what I was doing. And they decided to, follow me. Like Twitter, So I first brought in Ghana to the US, AT&T, who was the largest company, do this in America, to start a business. And then I also, through that, HP, I brought HP also to Ghana. And then when they came and looked at Ghana and Africa at that time, they thought that the baseline should not be gold, diamond, or whatever. It should rather be knowledge-based, like they built. So we began the journey, in trying to, empower people. Those days, there were all foreign companies, Unilever, CFAO, NCR, or whatever. So I went around, to see, and then, when I was going out, I went to NCR, and the sales manager called me and said, oh, if you go, we need some calculators. So I said, what do you want to do, calculators? He said, that's the in thing at that time, So when I went back to the US, I decided to think about it, and I said, no, maybe it's a call. So I flew back to Ghana with 12 paper calculators, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow. So when you and your partners decided to bring these things to bear in industry, in the youth, everybody, what are some of the challenges you encountered at the time?
Everything. There was no policy. Nobody was interested. And then, the revolution came, and they even thought it was a threat to revolution at that time. But we persisted, as young people, say that that's what is done somewhere else, and that's what I also know. So it has to happen.
Okay.
The lot of fight was not easy, with the system, the government system those days. But we persisted and started training people. So one of the major things that we saw was that when you go to offices, at that time, the secretaries are found wanting, to see the bosses. So we decided to change that dynamics, to technology by training them, what we call. So I changed the thing from secretary to system administrators.
Okay.
That's what we call the American dream. Those days, some of the things, you import, to the system and then adapt, for this. So people would understand, those days a lot of UK thing, British thing, but we came from America. You see, when you look at this country, look at the history, Agyapong, Dr. Agri, he came from the US. Kwame Nkrumah came from the US. And many, many people, because that continent or that country's training and transformation was different, even including your boss, my brother, Agyapong, he was also from the US. He grew up in UK, so people don't even understand even his own party. So that kind of system that we've been through.
Because of the system that you went through in the US?
Yes, the system, you have to work hard, you have to produce, you have to be intelligent, you have to have a special area of focus, nobody will cross you. So there they try to change things, even like here, when you look at people, who are supposed to be laborers, they call them laborers, then they call them engineers. Even if you are working in the home, they call you home engineer, so they try to put everybody very important.
Okay.
So those are the kind of training that, that we have and continue to be there. So, but when you look at the whole thing, everybody realize that in Africa there was so much fight over gold, diamond, natural resources, mineral resources. So the youth are the one that suffers, to the side. Like Ghana, the biggest problem Ghana have is galamsey, but there's a solution to galamsey, how do we do it? It was Haiti that solved galamsey problem many years ago, in America too, in Australia, in India, and whatever it is. So what do we do? So when we began the journey, we started training secretaries, we call them some administrators. Rollins and other everyone was fighting me. The host of the fight was, I trained the secretary, which was Nabama Kamara, so Elizabeth at that time. And I sent them the UK HP training center. When they came, they brought a laser printer, the first one in Ghana, and the fight changed. So he saw the produce of whatever we're doing. So technology is a very essential. If you look at akufo-addo pass, freeze chairs, of all these things, you see, if we were to focus on technology, you would have succeeded more than it has. I was in Kenya a few months ago. If you look at Kenya, for instance, the fight in Kenya from the Gen Zs is nothing but give them technology and they'll be quiet. So where we are today, that's what they were talking about. This have moved on. But through that, when people come like 18, they decided to know there are no policies. So we began a journey, trying to see what we can do. So
at the time, were you able to propose some policies that you didn't? Okay. Yes,
so that's what led, to establishment, of the telecom policy, who led to finding of the National Communication Authority. Even that had to fly, the then minister or whatever for communication called, it was Salia. And a team from the communication to the US, to the Bell Laboratory to show them or to meet what I was talking about. It was not easy, I have to see the gentleman called Angelio at that time, who's alive, who was then the chairman of PNT, so he encouraged and processed it. So when we got the US with the Ghanaian team, we met 18. The founding of Telecom is what we call the Bell Labs in America, in New Jersey, where your boss grew up, So the Bell Labs, and after that, we flew to a place called Nepeville. That's when Ghana's thing started. When we got there, I was informed that they are going to bring the Ghanaian delegation to meet the Ghanaian team. But there was a position at that time for the political elite. So, well, they didn't come to meet the Ghanaian because it was a revolution. They don't want to be answering questions. So when I consulted, they told me that I shouldn't worry. We'll see who the Ghanaian they were bringing. And I better, to my shock, they flew over 120 Ghanaian in a senior position within the AT&T group, to meet Ghanaians,
I see.
And that's where the education came from. That's what they do in other countries. So Victor Lawrence, who's now just got a big award in the US, as a professor, and many of them. So we began the study, and then they told the Ghanaian again what they do, like India and all of them. They like to send back home the nationals who got trained, to work on their own country for the policy change for this to begin. So that led to bringing a lot of Ghanaians, with Lawrence, Jose Mwaku, many of them those days. So we established NITA, established telecom policy. Big, led to establishment of a big data center for Ghana. The name Business Communication was also created from those policies that I brought at that time. And then my brother too came back from the US, and he on the Bozo side also created the media policy, which led to the radio, you know, the many TV stations, the radio stations, and all of them is the empowerment of the youth in technology. If you look at the media space, there are many of you who are very, very intelligent from rural villages but had a job to do. Now, so we moved on, you know, started from triple calculators to computer on the table, you know, to then eventually to telecom. What happened with the telecom was that, you know, Unilever approached us that they want to do something for data, you know, between here and the UK. So I contacted AT&T, went back there, and then we brought up with the first circuit data in Ghana, you know. So we began that journey and led policy, NC, and the licensing. There was a need for licensing for telecoms. So even the license, I created the licensing, you know, then Telecom came first through a non-alignment movement, and then I found myself. So from there, we became a very major, you know, company.
Okay.
And I started empowering a lot of youth. So many people today in Ghana, anywhere I go, you know, who have been grown, I appreciate whatever we did many years ago, selflessly, you know, for the country to move on.
Okay. How has this whole technology revolution helped in shaping the mindset of Ghanaians, especially the youth?
You see, it has done a lot, except when you put a political twist to it. You see, telecoms and technology is not politics.
Okay.
You know, like what happened the last time, Ghana card and all the digitalization. No, it's individuals like you, especially young people, are supposed to give them the chance to develop, get patent to it, and get empowered by government policies for them to create wealth and whatever they want to do. That's what it's all about the world.
Okay.
You see, so there's a lot of impact in Ghana, but except that the blockade, you know, from government, you know, in terms of those who are behind it cannot come out, you know. One of the major projects.
Those are behind it in government or private sector?
Behind those technology are the young people, not the government.
Okay.
But when the government blocks it under some digitalization policy or whatever it is, the brand cannot come out. So you can hide somewhere. And then the government is supposed to be selling your ideas, cannot be selling it very well, and the benefit doesn't come to you.
Okay.
You see.
Okay.
Because if you look at the world, you know, there's no competition in knowledge-based economy or knowledge-based business. So, you see, when you look at Elon Musk, you look at Facebook, you look at Microsoft, they're all individual young men, you know, they were in their 20s and 30s when these things happen. It's not when they're old now that their name has been there. But behind them, also in the back office, are all the young people from education, especially from the universities, who develop all these things. So therefore, you know, the country today, it's a very, very powerful country. If the government, me, I don't like new government, old government, no. I like administration. You know, I don't, what I know is administration. I don't care about old government or new government. I don't see it as administration. Because when the president is elected in a country, the administration takes over.
Yeah.
Because you might cater also for the old government people and everybody.